Imagine being just 14 years old, standing at a crossroads, feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders. That's where her story begins. Kicked out of her home for being pregnant, she faced a reality most teens couldn't even imagine. Alone, scared, and with nowhere to turn, she had every reason to give up. But instead of letting her circumstances define her, she made a choice that would change her life, and the lives of others, forever. Years later, the girl everyone gave up on returned, not as the person they once knew, but as someone who left her entire community speechless. What did she do? How did she go from being abandoned to inspiring countless people? This is a story about resilience, transformation, and the power of never giving up. Stay tuned because what happens next will leave you in awe. When she left home that night, all she had was a small bag of clothes, a few dollars, and the baby growing inside her. The streets were cold, and every door seemed to slam shut in her face. People whispered, judged, and turned their backs. She wandered from shelter to shelter, desperately trying to find a safe place to rest. At just 14, she had to grow up fast, learning to navigate a world that seemed determined to break her. But even in those darkest moments, she held on to a spark of hope. She remembered the lessons her grandmother had taught her. Life can knock you down, but it's up to you to get back up. Those words became her mantra as she worked odd jobs and saved every penny she could. No one knew what she was planning, but deep down, she was determined to prove everyone wrong. As the months passed, survival became a daily battle. She worked long hours at a local diner, juggling shifts while trying to prepare for the arrival of her baby. Exhaustion was constant, but she refused to stop. Each night, she sat in the corner of her tiny rented room, sketching out dreams on crumpled paper. She envisioned a life where she wasn't just surviving but thriving, a life where she could give her child everything she never had. But the world wasn't kind. Her boss often cut her hours, landlords raised the rent, and people still looked at her like she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. The weight of their judgment pressed down on her, yet it only fueled her resolve. She kept telling herself that one day they'd all see what she was capable of. Still, there were nights when doubt crept in, and she wondered, was it all too much? Could she really defy the odds? What she didn't realize was that every struggle, every sacrifice, was leading her towards something bigger than she ever imagined. Years went by, and her quiet determination began to take shape. She had managed to save enough to start a small business, a modest project that everyone doubted would succeed. They called it a waste of time and laughed behind her back, but she didn't care. Each dollar she earned was proof that she was building something bigger than herself, something that could give her child the life she'd always dreamed of. Still, challenges loomed at every corner. There were days when sales were painfully slow, nights when she had to choose between paying for inventory or putting food on the table. Her child, now old enough to understand more of the world, asked questions she didn't always have answers to. But she always found a way to smile and reassure them, even when her heart was heavy. The turning point came when an unexpected opportunity landed in her lap, a chance to present her work to people who could change everything. But the pressure was immense. If this didn't work, years of struggle could go up in smoke. Standing on the verge of something life-changing, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, not knowing if it would all come crashing down, or if this was the moment she had been waiting for. As she stood before the panel, nerves rattling her every thought, she delivered her pitch with all the passion and resilience she had built over the years. Her voice trembled at first, but she pushed through, pouring her heart into every word. The room fell silent when she finished, and for a moment she thought she had failed. But just as she was bracing for rejection, one of the judges spoke, offering not only praise, but a deal that could change everything. Her excitement was short-lived. As she began preparing to take her business to the next level, she uncovered something shocking. A trusted partner she had brought on board to help with expansion had been siphoning resources, jeopardizing everything she'd worked so hard to build. It was a betrayal that cut deep, and for the first time in years, doubt began to creep back in. Faced with a critical decision, she had to act quickly to protect her dream while keeping her child's future intact. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure was not an option. Would she find a way to turn this setback into yet another stepping stone, or would everything she'd fought for crumble before her eyes? With everything on the line, she confronted the partner who had betrayed her. The conversation was tense, filled with accusations and denials, but she had evidence and refused to back down. Instead of letting the situation destroy her, she used it as an opportunity to take full control of her business. It wasn't easy. She had to rebuild trust with her team, adjust her plans, and face the possibility of losing the deal that could have changed her life. But then, in a turn no one saw coming, the panel member who had offered her the deal reached out. They had heard about the betrayal and admired her ability to handle it with such strength and grace. Not only did they stand by their original offer, but they also connected her with other influential people who wanted to invest in her vision. The business took off in ways she could have never imagined, and as she stood on stage years later, accepting an award for her contributions to the community, she shared her journey. She revealed that the very people who doubted her had inspired her to succeed. But the twist, she had secretly been funding programs to help young mothers like her, creating a legacy far greater than anyone had expected. As the applause filled the room, she looked out at the crowd, her heart full. The girl who once had nothing now stood as a symbol of hope and resilience. Her child, now a teenager, sat proudly in the front row, a reminder of why she had fought so hard. The journey had been anything but easy, but every struggle, every sleepless night, had led to this moment. She used her story to remind others that their past didn't define them. She spoke about the importance of giving people a second chance, of believing in their ability to rise above their circumstances. Her programs for young mothers thrived, offering them support she wished she'd had at their age. As she walked off the stage, she felt a deep sense of peace. She had proven to herself and the world that no matter how hard life knocks you down, you can always rise again.